So, you know that feeling when you're standing on a beach at night, just like staring out at a pitch black ocean?
Oh, yeah, where it's just completely overwhelming.
Right, exactly. It is that intense, almost, I don't know, heavy sense of being incredibly comically small.
Yeah, you realize you're just a tiny speck.
Right. You're looking at this massive ancient thing that was moving long before we got here, and it will be moving long after we are gone.
It's very humbling.
It is. And usually when we think about forces that old, we assume they operate on a level completely disconnected from our day-to-day lives.
Because they're just too big to care.
Right. Like we assume the ocean doesn't really care about your morning commute,
Yeah.
or how completely overwhelmed you might feel by your inbox today.
It definitely does not care about your emails.
Exactly. But we grabbed a specific piece of writing from your stack of sources today because it completely flips that assumption on its head.
It really does. It's a gorgeous piece of writing.
It is. So today we are taking a deep dive into an extraordinary text. It's a poetic, kind of philosophical soliloquy titled, "If You Keep Me Happy," and it is written from a very, very bold perspective.
Yeah, it's written in the voice of the primordial mother.
Yeah.
So that is the voice of the earth, or really the force of life itself, sort of personified and speaking directly to you, the reader.
Which is wild.
It is. It is an incredibly intimate framing for something so, cosmic.
And our mission for this deep dive is to decode this text, not just as like a beautiful piece of poetry, but as a surprisingly practical, striking manual.
A manual for living, really.
Exactly. It's a guide for how we actually interact with our own sense of aliveness. We pulled this for you because you, like me, are probably navigating the modern hustle, right?
Oh, absolutely. The burnout is real.
The endless push for optimization, that creeping burnout we all get. We want to see what a primordial force has to say about our very modern exhaustion.
And I think the contrast is what makes it so compelling. It speaks directly to that condition of being stretched too thin.
Yeah.
Managing every single aspect of a day, but somehow feeling absolutely nothing while you do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the very first line establishes a being that existed before light and water.
It says, before the first thing had a name to lose.
Right, before light agreed to split into mourning and grief. Which, wow, it sets up this massive epic scale. But as you read on, you realize this voice isn't talking about grand geological epochs at all.
No, not at all.
It's bringing the cosmic scale right down into the dirt in your garden or like the kitchen sink. It's about the tiniest, unglamorous moments of your day.
Which brings us to the title, right?
Yes, which is the central refrain of the whole piece. If
Yeah.
you keep me happy, I'll keep you happy.
And that phrasing is intentionally provocative.
It really is. I mean, I read that title and my thoroughly modern brain immediately went to like my corporate wellness app.
Oh, totally. It sounds like an HR initiative.
Right. It sounds just like a contract.
Yeah.
Because we are so conditioned to treat literally everything in life like a vending machine.
The transactional mindset?
Exactly. We operate on this hyper-transactional level where we think, okay, I will insert my currency, I will input my hard work, my quote-unquote good behavior, my, perfectly timed 4.5 minutes of mindfulness meditation before my 10 a.m. Zoom call.
Checking all the boxes.
Right. And then we expect to press a button and a neatly packaged product called happiness or inner peace will just drop down into the tray.
Well, what's fascinating here is how aggressively the text dismantles that exact vending machine mindset.
Yes, it really goes after it.
The mother states explicitly, right up front, that she is not a merchant. She actually says, I am not a merchant weighing your coin against your worth.
Wow.
Yeah, she isn't sitting behind a counter deciding whether you've logged enough hours of meditation or like green juice consumption to earn your own life back.
Wait, okay, but if I'm not earning a reward through good behavior, what's the actual incentive structure here? I mean, is she just arbitrarily withholding good things until I calm down and pay attention to her?
No, not at all. And to explain why, the text gives us a brilliant core analogy. It says the relationship isn't like a buyer and a seller. It's like the relationship between your lungs and the air around you.
Oh, that's interesting.
The mechanics of that are crucial to understand. I mean, think about it. You don't bribe the air into filling your lungs.
Right, you don't pay the air.
Exactly. You don't have to prove to the oxygen in the room that you're a highly productive person who deserves to breathe today.
That would be exhausting.
Right. You just physically open up and the air comes in. It is always there, just waiting for the space to be made.
So when the text talks about what happens when we don't open up, it's talking about clenching. Like
Right.
physically holding your breath out of pride or fear or just this modern belief that deeply feeling things is just inefficient.
Yes. And this fundamentally changes how we view consequences.
How so?
Well, In a transactional mindset, if you do something wrong, you expect punishment from a higher power, right? Like a
Hmm.
penalty fee or a slap on the wrist.
Right, the vending machine takes your money and gives you nothing.
Exactly. But the mother says if you clench your lungs, you are not being punished by her. You simply stop being filled.
Oh, man. The text says the absence is the whole of the punishment. I don't have to add a thing to it. It makes a lot of sense, actually. It takes the judgment out of the equation entirely.
Yeah, because if you hold your breath, you suffocate. Not because the air is angry at you or because the air decided you were unworthy, but just because you closed the door to it.
It's pure physics. It's mechanics, not morality. The suffering comes entirely from the resistance, not from some punitive judge.
Okay, but if the punishment is just our own clenching, I'm trying to wrap my head around what it actually means to make this primordial force happy.
Right, what does she want?
Yeah, like if it's not putting coins in the vending machine, how do you make aliveness itself happy?
The text makes a crucial distinction to answer that. The mother's happiness is not a mood. You shouldn't picture a deity on a throne, waiting to be flattered or appeased.
Her happiness is described mechanically as clarity. She compares it to water that is clean enough to see all the way down to the sandy bottom.
Clarity.
Yes, and that clarity happens when you are honest inside your own body, when you let a feeling move all the way through you instead of trying to artificially manage it. The text brilliantly describes the alternative as performing its opposite for the comfort of a room.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean? Because, look, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
If I'm in a high-stakes client meeting or I'm managing a chaotic crisis at home with my family, keeping it together is usually seen as the mature, responsible thing to do.
Sure, we call it professionalism.
Right. We are socially rewarded for managing our reactions. So why does this text seem to attack composure and efficiency so fiercely? Aren't those just, survival skills?
That tension is the core critique of modern life in this soliloquy. The text isn't arguing that getting things done or fulfilling your responsibilities is a bad thing. It is critiquing the worship of efficiency.
The worship of it.
Yeah, there's a massive difference between being capable and building your entire identity around optimization.
Hmm.
The mother says we build a life around the worship of efficiency and call it wisdom. We numb ourselves on purpose and call it composure.
Ah, so it's the rebranding of disconnection. It's taking the fact that we've totally dissociated from our feelings and patting ourselves on the back for being so incredibly professional.
Precisely. It's when you treat your body like a machine to be optimized with, like biohacks and rigid schedules, rather than a home to be lived in.
Oh, that hits hard.
Right. Or when cruelty or bluntness gets rebranded as radical honesty, and gentleness gets rebranded as a liability or a weakness.
Yeah.
The text says when you go along with that, mostly because going along is just easier than being the one person left in the room still willing to actually feel something, a room in her goes dark.
Room goes dark. The quote is not out of spite, just untended, a field nobody walked through. That imagery is really striking.
It paints such a clear picture.
It does. It's like if you pave over a community garden to make a parking lot, because it's technically more efficient for the neighborhood, the earth isn't going to strike you down with a lightning bolt. It just stops growing flowers there. The space goes dead.
And that deadness is the absence we talked about earlier, the suffocating feeling of the clenched lung.
Which brings us to the antidote. Because the ways the text says you keep the water clear, the ways you keep her happy are incredibly unglamorous.
They really are. It explicitly does not prescribe climbing a mountain to meditate for a month in silence.
Right, it's remarkably grounded in the mundane.
Totally.
It says you keep the water clear when you cry without immediately apologizing for the inconvenience of it. I mean, think about that for a second.
It's so common.
It is. How many times have you teared up in front of a friend or a coworker, and your immediate reflex is to wipe your face and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't know why I'm crying, let's get back on track."
We constantly apologize for the simple physical reality of our own aliveness.
Because tears are inefficient, I guess.
Right. They halt the productivity of the conversation.
And the list of anecdotes goes on. It says you keep her happy when you let a 6-year-old child actually be loud instead of immediately teaching them to make themselves smaller just so the room stays quiet and comfortable for the adults.
That's a huge one.
Yeah. Or when you say thank you to dirt out loud. Or when you dance badly alone in a kitchen and no part of your brain is watching yourself do it.
That lack of self-surveillance is the mechanical key there. I mean, why does dancing badly in a kitchen work?
Yeah.
Because it produces zero measurable value.
You can't put it on a resume.
Exactly. You can't sell it. It is entirely anti-transactional. It
Yeah.
is a moment of pure, unoptimized existence.
It also mentions touching things, like putting your hands in soil, or kneading dough, or leaving your hand in someone else's hair, and staying there a moment longer than you needed to.
Just lingering.
Yes, it's all about lingering. It's about intentionally breaking the tyranny of the schedule, refusing to rush to the next objective.
But again, the text explicitly reminds us, none of this is tribute. She isn't keeping a tally on a clipboard of how many times you baked bread this week or, danced in your kitchen.
Right, no vending machine.
Exactly. She says, I'm not counting. I'm just closer to you in those moments.
Mm.
When you stop performing, the distance just collapses.
Okay, so let's say I managed to do this. I stop apologizing for my tears, I linger in the garden, and the water clears. I'm no longer clenching. I still want to know what the actual payoff is.
You want the reward.
Well, yeah. If it's not a transactional reward popping out of the vending machine, what does this aliveness actually provide?
This is where the philosophy of the text gets incredibly profound. The mother says, I don't reward you the way a king rewards a servant. I become the reward.
Oh, wow. She doesn't send a gift via courier. She is the gift.
Yes, she arrives in forms you might not even recognize as a cosmic force because they are so deeply woven into your daily life. She says she is the idea that suddenly finds you in the shower after 3 weeks of absolute creative block.
I love that.
Or she is the friend who decides to call you at the exact hour you needed a voice, even though you hadn't told anyone you were struggling.
Right, and it mentions the wound that closes faster than the doctors expected for reasons nobody writes down.
Or the meal that somehow tastes like more than just the sum of its ingredients.
Hmm?
Unexplained, serendipitous luck, the tide that keeps returning.
It's all these tiny miracles.
Exactly. The mechanics here are that when the water is clear in you, she can finally move through it uninhibited, manifesting as these small moments of grace.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh.
Because as comforting and gentle as all of that sounds, the healing wound, the timely phone call, the text, takes a very sharp, almost jarring turn right after this, and we have to talk about it.
We do.
If she is the source of all these miraculous, gentle things, how on earth do we explain the other side of the coin?
Yeah.
How do we explain when things suddenly and painfully end in our lives? The brutal breakups, the sudden job losses, the chaos.
It's the ultimate question, isn't it? If the underlying force of the earth is this loving mother, why do bad things happen? Why is there sudden devastating loss?
But the text doesn't shy away from this. It leans right into it.
It introduces what it calls her fierce side. And it argues something really challenging for the modern mind to accept, which is that this fierceness isn't cruelty.
Right.
It's not an abandonment or betrayal of love. It is an extension of love.
It calls it pruning, not punishing.
Think of an expert gardener. If a branch on a tree is dead or deeply diseased, the gardener doesn't leave it there out of politeness or, sentimentality. They take shears and cut it off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, to the tree, in that exact moment, that cut feels like violence. It feels like an attack. But it is done entirely so the rest of the organism can survive and direct its energy toward new growth.
The mother says, I clear what's dead so what's living can keep breathing.
Oh.
And the image it uses to explain the psychology of this is, well, it's visceral. It compares this fierce action to a mother pulling her child back from the edge of a busy street. It says, no mother's hand is gentle in the half second before her child steps into traffic.
It is the perfect metaphor for sudden loss. I mean, if you've ever witnessed that happen, or if you're a parent who has physically had to do that, you know you aren't worrying about bruising the child's arm.
Oh, of course not.
You aren't whispering politely. You are yanking them backward by their collar with absolute raw force.
That isn't cruelty. That's love moving faster than manners.
Love moving faster than manners. I mean, we tend to hold on to dead branches in our own lives because they feel familiar. We stay in a toxic job or a draining relationship or numbing routine because the known is less scary than the unknown.
Right, it's comfortable.
So when a season of your life ends abruptly, completely, with no warning, you can point to just a door slamming shut in your face.
Uh-huh.
The text suggests that this is often the fierce hand of the mother pulling you back from traffic.
Pruning, not punishing. Clearing what was already dying and blocking your light. That fundamentally changes how you look back at the most painful, chaotic disruptions in your life.
It forces you to genuinely ask, was that thing that got taken away actually sustaining me? Or was it actively suffocating me and I was just too polite or too deeply afraid to let it go myself.
Which is a remarkably tough pill to swallow when you're in the middle of the pain and the shock. The cut still hurts.
Of course it does.
But looking back years later, the mechanics of it make a lot of sense. The pruning saved the tree.
And that reality brings up a very practical question for anyone engaging with this philosophy.
Yeah, I want to address you directly, the listener, because as we talk through all of these metaphors, the vending machine, the clenching lungs, the dead branches, you might be sitting there realizing, wow, I have spent a decade in that state of numb professionalism.
A lot of us have.
Right. I've been optimizing my body, managing my emotions for the comfort of the room, prioritizing efficiency over actually feeling anything for a very long time. If you've been starving the mother, effectively holding your breath for 10 years, it feels like you'd owe back taxes on your aliveness.
Like you're deeply in debt.
Exactly. Like it's going to take years of intense spiritual retreat just to fix this deficit.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of how this mother operates, this next part is perhaps the most liberating concept in the entire source material. Because the human instinct is absolutely to assume a massive debt. We think we have to earn our way back into the good graces of the universe.
We fall right back into the vending machine trap. Like, I have to insert 10 years of good behavior to make up for 10 years of numbness.
But the text shatters that instinct completely. It explicitly states, there is no ledger of your absence.
No ledger.
No one is sitting in the sky keeping score of how long you've been disconnected. The mother hasn't left the room in protest. She says, I was in the water the entire time, patient the way water is patient, which is to say not patient at all, just simply always there, unbothered by how long you take to come back.
She isn't tapping her foot checking a watch. She's literally just the medium you exist in.
And because of that, because she never left, the distance between you and this primordial aliveness collapses instantly.
Just instantly.
The exact second you stop performing distance from yourself, the gap is gone. The text promises that there is no distance that one honest breath won't close.
One honest breath. Man, that takes all the pressure off.
It really does.
You don't have to earn your way back. In fact, if we look at the mechanics of it, you probably already connected with her today and you just didn't realize it counted because it wasn't on like a meditation app.
You most likely did. It happens in the smallest moments.
You probably had some small, unwitnessed moment this morning. You tasted your coffee and actually noticed the warmth of the mug instead of just chugging it as fuel for your commute.
Right.
Or you felt a wave of frustration or joy and just let it wash over you entirely for 5 seconds instead of trying to manage it away so you could keep working. You let yourself be moved by something.
And that is all it takes to clear the water. That is the whole covenant.
It completely reframes the whole journey of a day. I mean, we've taken the exhausting, transactional, hyper-efficient view of modern life where we are essentially machines trying to optimize our output to purchase happiness and traded it for a view of simple, radical openness.
Exactly.
Where feeling your feelings, moving a little slower, lingering a little longer with your hands in the dirt or the dough, you know that is the ultimate covenant with the world.
And understanding that fundamentally changes how you view the daily friction in your life.
It really does.
The next time you feel the urge to immediately apologize for your own emotions in a meeting, or you catch yourself trying to rigidly optimize your Sunday afternoon free time so you aren't wasting it, just remember the analogy of the lungs.
Right.
You are clenching against the air. You don't have to do that. Just open up and let the water clear.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into your notes today, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over on your own. We spent some time unpacking the fierce side of this primordial love, the hand that aggressively pulls you back from traffic, the painful pruning of what is dead.
The tough love, essentially.
Exactly. Think about an abrupt ending or a sudden loss in your own life, something that felt entirely unfair, entirely cruel at the time it happened.
We all have those moments.
We do. And looking back on it now from where you stand today, what dead thing was that fierce hand actually clearing away so that your light could finally reach you?